this was a fantastic performance. I mean, one of the best you've had in a while. Is it just as simple as the weight? I mean, obviously that seems to be the first thing people point to, but is it that simple?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a little bit of the weight and just the mental preparation. You know, I didn't have no pressure on. Like, in the Oliveira fight, I was potentially fighting for a title shot. Max Holloway was the interim title. This one, I had no pressure. Just go out there, have fun, and that's what I did. Went out there and had fun.
Can you talk about your mentality overall during that stretch? I mean, you had a rough stretch. There's no doubt about it. You know, after being on top of the world and having to deal with those kind of results, I mean, did doubt ever creep in? Did you think, maybe I don't have it anymore?
No, not doubt, but just a level of competition. You know, I was calling out the best in the world. I mean, I fought Max Holloway. I fought, you know, Charles Oliveira. Everybody at lightweight pretty much that was in the top. So it wasn't really doubt. It was just getting that mental right. Yeah, definitely you feel like, what am I doing wrong? But I just stuck to it. You know, we got little bro fighting. I think little brother fighting and getting his shine. Like, yeah, we got something special here.
Can you say, besides just what this, you know, kind of getting back on the right track means to you, what a win over Jim Miller means, a guy that's been around forever?
I mean, just the win in general feels amazing. You know, to be back in the lightweight division, weight cut was amazing. I didn't have to like kill myself. I got to train the whole camp. It just felt good.
And I got to ask you about the ending sequence of the fight. I mean, you know, I think you had the victory secure at that point, but you guys kind of got a little crazy and creative at the end. What was kind of going through your mind?
Just have fun out there, man. I was like, you know what, 30 seconds left. Let's give the fans something to cheer about.
Anthony, right here. Just kind of what John said too. You know, going through what you did at the end of last year at UFC 206. Did you, you know, who sort of like helped you through that time to sort of, you know, get right back on track and everything? Because you know, it was pretty devastating to kind of lose and, you know, deal with the weight cut and everything.
My family, my girlfriend, my brother, my daughter, just getting back to, and my coaches too. Obviously, I got Israel Martinez, Duke Rufus. Sergio was in my corner for this fight, but just the coaches and the family really helped me just stay focused and know that I have the talent. The talent was always there. It was never an issue of talent. It was just mental and just wanting it.
And everyone watching obviously thought it was a great fight. But you yourself, do you feel like this was the type of performance to kind of remind everyone in the lightweight division that, hey, I'm back?
I mean, it wasn't my best performance, but I feel like against a guy like Jim Miller, I mean, I hit him with some big shots, and he stayed standing, so no props to Jim.
And you want to kind of keep this momentum and fight soon? When are you looking to go back again in the octagon?
You know what, I'm going to take some time. It's my daughter's birthday tomorrow. I'm going to take some time with her, enjoy that, and then we'll look at where we're going to go.
And any thoughts on the next opponent?
No idea.
Anthony, to your left.
Yeah, where? I see you back there.
I noticed it seemed like you and Duke, you know, right before you check with the commission with the mouthpiece and you get the stuff over your eyes, the Vaseline and everything, that you and Duke kind of like embraced each other for a while, and he was talking to you. Was there anything meaningful about that? Did you guys say anything before?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Duke always knows what to say. I mean, Duke's been in my corner for every fight except for one, and he was on the same card as I was on. You know, he just said, go out there and like your father said, never let him put fear in your heart. And he's like, go out there and just be yourself. And that's what I did, man. I just wanted to have fun. No pressure. Like, I think the biggest thing was no pressure. You know, I wasn't fighting for a belt or a potential belt. I was just fighting to have fun and do what I do best.
Did this night, when you were in there, it did seem like you were having there were moments where you're dropping your hands a little bit, and you could tell that your confidence level was high. When was the last time you felt this way? Can you compare this night to?
Yeah, I felt this way when I went on my title run. I mean, when I beat Lozon, Cerrone, Henderson all in the first round, I just felt confident in my skill set. You know, I worked really hard on my wrestling with Israel Martinez, and I wanted him to take a shot on me to show him I had that defense there. I had the range. I felt strong. I hurt my hand in like the second round, the same injury as the Holloway fight. So I stopped throwing that right hand, but everything else worked good.
Anthony, congrats. Do you
Thanks,
think
man.
that you broke your hand?
I broke it in the Holloway fight,
Yeah.
and it broke in a way that I didn't have to need surgery, but we knew it could be broken again. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it's broke. So I got to get an X-ray and see what happens.
Okay, because you didn't get the surgery last time, right?
No, we didn't. It broke like straight back, so I didn't need to readjust the knuckle.
Okay, how does it feel now?
Broken.
Like broken. It hurts. Okay. Would you say this was your best performance since the Melendez fight?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Oliveira fight, 45 was death. You know, I was
Yeah.
trying to make weight. I couldn't even train. I was just cutting weight the whole time. Yeah, this was. I felt at home again, where I was just having fun and there was no pressure.
And now that you're back and obviously feeling good and happy, you regret the 145 move? Do you feel like you kind of
No, not at all. I think I was chasing, my goal was always to be a two-time champ. When I beat Henderson, I called out Aldo. But I know with my age and where I'm at, the weight cuts are ridiculous.
And last thing that I hadn't seen, just observing you fight week in the past, you mentioned your girlfriend, and she seemed like she was with you more, like official weigh-ins. She was your sort of corner. And at media day and things like that, why did things change, and why did you decide to do that as opposed to having a coach with you like usually?
We had 3 fighters on the card, and they were busy, but obviously it makes me feel the most comfortable. So we just maybe I did what I felt makes me feel comfortable.
Now you got to stick with it.
Obviously. Yeah.
Right. Congrats.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know. I remember the van. The van was mounted here because case manufacturer put the hole here, and said that's not going to work. It's got a fan on it.
Okay, yeah.
So we put the hole here, but what I'm saying is when we first configured this, everything was coming through these holes.
Well, there was, I think there was the molded pieces.
Yep.
Those were they're molded connectors. So what made it look like kind of this, take the outside shell off and slip it through. These holes were too small. They're too small to get that connector up through.
Well, what about the other end?
XLRs, right?
Yeah, the other end was just XLR.
Or were they just unended and they were
Yeah, they're like
soldered
they're terminated
because of that?
Yeah,
That needed to be soldered after all that.
yeah, but everything else, as far as the went ahead and had Ryan Mitchell make up some bigger, heavy-duty, longer cables so I could get my antennas further apart so I didn't have any intermod on it. It's helped with, potential dropout issues and everything because I've been roaming around the room. So. But yeah, other than that, it's been there is one of the powered speakers that I spoke with Jason Levenhagen about it. I forgot to get the email chain started, but I do not know what's wrong with it. It was marked bad. Okay. I don't know when it happened or how it happened.
Megan. Nice to meet you. Main event ended up being, honestly, there's a lot of good
Considering what happened today, with that going on, it's a weird time, having the third year.
Alistair, obviously this was a big win for you. You know, a trilogy fight, a big name. Didn't necessarily come easy though. Of course, you had to survive that third round. So, give us your impressions overall. What did you think about your performance this evening?
Well, I'm very proud. I believe that the first 2.5 rounds, I was dominating, picking my shots. The third round was not too clean, a little bit actually, if I'm honest. A lot of respect to Fabricio. His striking is improving with every fight, it seems. He's a tough opponent. He's there to fight. I clipped him a couple times hard. I cut him. I rocked him. He rocked me. You know, when you fight a caliber as Fabricio, you know it's not gonna be easy. And I think in the second fight he outstruck me. I out-grappled him. I had that victory. And in this one, to me, I was controlling the first 2.5 rounds. And but again, respect him. He's there to fight, and he's not a walkover.
Can you talk about your strategy and game plan coming in? Because it was interesting. Your hands were pretty low the whole time, and you know, you were kind of positioning yourself right in front of him and giving him different looks. What was your game plan coming in?
Well, of course, his ground game is sublime. It's dangerous. Once he gets you to the ground, he has excellent control. There's submissions there. There's ground and pound. I didn't want to give him that to him. So hands were a little bit lower to block the shot. That being said, you know, I knew the longer the fight would go, I would outpoint him. Of course, the fight stands on the feet, so that's in my advantage. Got to keep it standing.
and we didn't get a chance to see it, but we're watching the internet here. I guess Dana just did the post-fight show, and he said, listen, appreciate that Alistair saying he deserves a title shot, but that's not the type of performance that earns you a title shot. Can you appreciate that, going to a decision like that, not being title worthy, or do you feel like he might be wrong with that assessment?
No, Dana White is the boss, and it was a decision. It was not a clear-cut dominant performance. I'm here to do whatever is needed to get that title shot. And if we have to run through somebody else, so be it. If we're going to get a title shot now, then so be it.
Alistair, front row to your left here. Hi. Looking at the judges' scorecards, all the judges gave you the first 2 rounds, and all 3 judges gave Fabricio the third. But one judge did score that round 10-8 for Fabricio. Do you see any case for that, or did you think that was a little much?
No. You know, sometimes you totally disagree with the judges. I think it was accurate today. Again,
somebody else already. If you don't get that title shot, that's probably got you fighting someone ranked pretty significantly below you at this point. Would you be okay with that if you're not offered that title shot?
Well, I'm a fighter first. I like to stay active. We're going to do whatever is needed to get to the title. And, you know, just be positive. I like the development as a fighter. I believe that every opponent gives me an opportunity to become a better fighter. So if we have to face somebody else first, fine. And
like span of years, how do you assess this performance in the trilogy, even apart from the win, just the way that the two of you have evolved as fighters, how it felt to face him and his skill set tonight versus other times?
Well, again, I know that Fabricio is, he might not be the most athletic opponent. He's an opponent who you easily underestimate. He doesn't really have that knockout power in his hands, but still he finds his way around that. And he's a very intelligent fighter. He's a very dedicated fighter. He comes with a plan to win. So to outsmart him, you have to have your own plan to win, and that does not always give for the most entertaining fights. Then you have to weigh yourself, okay, do you want to win or do you want to fight entertaining? If you're going to fight entertaining against Fabricio Verdum, he's gonna capitalize on that, and he will finish you off. And that's something that you know, for the trilogy fight, you can't. At this level, you can't do it. You gotta fight clever. You gotta fight smart, and you gotta get that W.
Alistair, right over here. Went to the distance for the first time since 2015, and you know, when you fought Roy Nelson. Were you surprised you weren't able to finish Fabricio in this fight?
Fabricio does not get finished that often. Stipe finished him, knocked him out beautifully again. You know, Stipe is a tremendous champion. Junior Dos Santos knocked him out, uppercut, but he doesn't really get finished, and he's fighting all these big names. He's not getting finished. So that being said, I fought him twice before. I knew beforehand I'm going to get my hands full. It might not be the most beautiful fight, but it's all about fighting clean, not giving away too much, and getting the W.
And any bumps and bruises tonight? Like, when would you like to get back in there for your next fight?
I don't have any injuries. You can see my face. I might have a little redness here, but I'm good. Preferably, you know, I'm looking a little bit at different aspects to my career. I would love to fight in Madison Square Garden. I think that would be beautiful in my career. Not to take away from Vegas. I love to fight here as well. Love to fight in Holland again. Love to fight in Japan. I hear the UFC is doing a Dubai card. That could also be amazing. Have to have Brazil once in my career. But we'll see. We'll see. For now, celebrate a little, and head back to the drawing board, up to the next one.
And if you look at your last couple of opponents, they're all big-name fighters. You know, Mark Hunt, you know, Andrei Arlovsky. But if you look at the heavyweight division now, there aren't too many big names at this point left, at least that are coming off wins. Would you want to fight like a Curtis Blades, like a prospect, or are you looking to fight someone like Derek Lewis, even though he's coming off a loss, but he's a bit of a bigger name?
I don't really have a clear name in my mind. To me, Fabricio Verdum was the main target. Stipe Miocic, I got something to set right with him. I think my my hand is shuffled differently this time, but let's see what happens.
Alistair, congratulations. Can you talk about just having the mindset of coming into this fight, though? Because what you're describing is that you know that Fabricio is hard to put away, and yet if you don't finish him, then you have Dana White saying that this wasn't impressive, this wasn't the fight that will get you to a title shot. So you're facing the toughest guy, but even if you beat him and you survive a third round, then you're not getting a title shot. Were you aware of all that coming in, and what kind of effect did that have on your mindset?
Well, to me, I knew if I fight my fight, either the knockout will come or it won't. If you pursue too much, you're going to fall in one of Fabricio's traps. That was my thought process going into this fight. I knew it was going to be a hard cookie to crack. But it was more about fighting my fight, and if the knockout comes, it'll come. And yeah, the same, we're going to see what's next on the path.
And not that this had any effect on the fight, but I was just curious. I wanted to ask you about, he does some weird things. He likes to play a little bit of mind games. He did that after the first round where he kind of did like a karate stance at you when the round ended. And then there was at one point where he kept on looking, it seemed like, at your lower leg and then looking up at you. And then you started doing it. Like you started to point at his legs or something. Do you remember that? And what was going on there?
Well, Fabricio likes to play mind games. Again, he's I view him as one of the more intelligent fighters. It's all to get in my mind. Again, I've been battling him for 11 years. He's one of my rivals. Yeah, and if you're going to do that mental game, I can do that as well.
Compared to over here to your right, you're right. Compared to the fight in Strikeforce, how would you rate it compared to that? How would you rate this fight compared to that one?
That one was a clean one as well. I do believe that I was very dominant in that performance. I believe I was very dominant in this performance, except for the last 2 minutes of the third round. But again, Fabricio is a champ. He's a former UFC champ. He's a jiu-jitsu grappling champ. He comes with a plan to win. And I believe that I have outsmarted him, and I've used my athletic abilities to dominate him.
So you just said you'll do whatever is needed to earn that next title shot, but you only have a finite amount of time here. You're in your late 30s, and you don't have forever to fight. How long would you be willing to? How many fights would you be willing to take in order to get this this title shot?
Well, people keep talking about your clock is ticking. Yeah, my clock is ticking, but I feel great, and I'm still beating these top opponents. The way I see it is my body is still perfect. Came into this fight, 0 problems, 0 injuries. I'm gonna keep going till I don't like it anymore, and up until now I love it. I enjoy my career. I enjoy the traveling. I enjoy the training. I enjoy the development. Every opponent makes me a better fighter, and let's be honest, it would be a lot less interesting, more boring if I would not be around. Right? Right.
Alistair, in the third round, it seems like he really rocked you for a little bit. How bad were you hurt?
I think we rocked each other. I connected a couple times with him. He connected the knee on me. Was not really hurt. And Fabricio, he's got very strong legs. His punches are less powerful. His ground and pound was not a problem. The knee is never good to take. Never want to get kneed in the face in a UFC fight.
Alistair, congratulations. It seemed to me like maybe the big winner tonight was Francis Ngannou.
So I can't do any predictions, but
your evolution was over and you won. Did you take a moment to get a little nostalgic? I mean, this is a rivalry that dates back to Pride. There are very few of those left, and it started in Pride. Did you sit back and say, look, I won, 2-1, I win, it's over? This story kind of, you lost that one, you came back in Dallas. Did you have a minute to sit back and sort of appreciate what this closure means to you?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, showered. Now I'm sitting here. After this, we're gonna have something to eat. Not digested it yet.
And why did you go back to the sushi before the fight? Why did you play with fire like that?
Confidence didn't overcome. Was perfect. The team was great. No rotten apples. So happy.
One last one for you. How do you feel about Gokhan coming to the UFC, considering he doesn't have a lot of MMA experience?
Well, I'm very excited for him to come to the UFC. It's a new challenge, a new chapter in his career. He's an elite striker. He's shown beautiful things for both K1 and Glory. I'm not that much in touch with him. He's gonna have, you know, my thing is I love people who test themselves. Conor Wilson does the same. Saki.
Another crazy day at International Fight Week today. I guess before we talk about the things that did happen, can you kind of maybe update us on what didn't happen with the main event? What happened with Amanda Nunes? Walk us through the whole process and just kind of can you give us the latest on her condition?
So after the weigh-ins yesterday, she weighed in, she made weight. Then leading up to the ceremonial weigh-ins, I got a call that she wasn't feeling well. And it was questionable whether she was going to show up to the ceremonials because the doctor needed to see her and, they needed to find out what was going on with her. So she does them. Everything's good. This morning I wake up and I hear that she's not feeling well again and she wants to, no, she's not feeling well again and she's probably not going to fight. So I asked the doctors what's wrong with her. She was medically cleared. She was physically okay. They found nothing wrong with her. But she didn't feel right.
And she just says, so I'm not going to fight? I mean, she refuses to fight? I mean, I know you can't, I guess you can't physically make somebody.
No, you can't make anybody fight. And it's not that she, is like, I'm just absolutely refusing to fight. She said, I don't feel right. I don't feel good. I think that it was, 90% mental and maybe 10% physical. She probably didn't feel right. I mean, I think a lot of fighters have had times where they don't feel right, and then we've had guys who are outright sick. There's situations like our maniac Cowboy Cerrone, who calls me last week or 2 weeks ago, or whatever it was. He's got staph infection in his knee, and he pulled his groin. Had a bruise from the inside of his knee all the way up to the top, and he's like, but you know what? The doc's saying, but it's true. Dr. Davidson was saying, we're getting him the antibiotics that he needs, and he'll be ready to go by that night. And I said, you don't want to fight Robbie Lawler in this condition, so let's push it back 10 days or 2 weeks or whatever it is. And we did. These situations arise all the time. I don't know if I've ever had a situation like today, though, where she was, physically capable of fighting.
So, I mean, she's on a fantastic run, but how does that impact? I mean, does that concern you moving forward? Like, can I put this woman in a main event slot? And
yeah, I won't do that again. I won't main event that title again.
It sounds like you said earlier today, maybe Edmonton for the reschedule for this fight. What needs to happen to make that official? I mean, is that the plan for sure, or is it still kind of up in the air?
No, that's the plan. We're working on it. That's what I would say. Yeah, we would do that. Makes sense.
Okay, appreciate those updates. Let's just ask about what did happen. Robert Whittaker looked fantastic tonight. Can you just give your thoughts on what was an incredible performance? Now you got maybe a new star at just 26 years old, first Australian champ.
Oh, so he looked incredible. If you look at his fight against Jacare, I said leading up to that fight, his fight's going to be determined by the first clinch. They're in the clinch. He got out. He started landing bombs. Then you see him in this fight against Yoel Romero, where he has basically one leg 2 minutes into the first round. And the takedown defense was unbelievable. Unbelievable work in the clinch. One of the things I got to point out, because I would listen in between every round, his corner work was insane. His cornerman did such a great job of coaching him through, round by round and trying to take the focus off his leg. He was incredible. He looked incredible.
And last thing for me, you brought Michael Bisping into the cage. You still got the George St. Pierre thing out there where he's saying he wants to fight. I mean, do we know for a fact that this is the fight without question that will happen? And could it happen in Australia? An Australian event was announced tonight. Is it possible that fight could take place there?
The George St. Pierre ship has sailed. That fight's not happening, obviously. I've been saying that now for a while. I had a press conference for that fight, and it never happened. So, we had to move on. And if you look at what happened tonight, both of these guys, the main event was awesome. It was such a great fight. This is the fight that should happen. This is absolutely the fight that should happen, and it's gonna. The funny thing is, you're asking me that. No, that's not. But I would love to do this fight in Australia. So I'm not saying we are, but I would love to.
Hey, Dana, right over here. You talked on the post-fight show later this evening about the Alistair Overeem fight, and saying that that fight isn't really inspiring to fight for the title next. Who did you score that fight for in between Verdum and Overeem?
Well, the crazy thing is, I don't think it's rocket science to know going to that last round. I felt like Verdum had to finish. I felt like Verdum had to finish him. How you can score a 10-8 in that fight? I don't know, man. I don't see it. To me, one guy has to get dominated so bad for a fight to be a 10-8, and the closest thing to it was the third round. Verdum had him out, he had him hurt, and he double legs him and lays on top of him for the rest of the fight, and he lets it go to the judges. So you can't be upset about that. You had the fight was there to win. He was standing up, he was out on his feet, and he was hitting him with shots at will, and he double legs him and lays on him the rest of the fight. What are you mad about?
And the Francis Ngannou Junior Dos Santos fight, is it safe to say if Ngannou wins that, he'll fight Stipe next?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how the fight goes, what happens, how he feels, and
And you mentioned UFC 215. Is there any concerns at all about the commission, just with what happened with Tim Hague? I know there's been some talks about, potentially looking into that whole situation of what happened with him.
I'm very confident in the people that we have, from Mark Ratner down, and the judges and referees that will, travel for an MMA event to be able to, it's not like it's our first trip to Canada either. I've been to Canada many times, and we have very competent people. There's a really bad stoppage tonight earlier on, and it was horrible. We had Joe Silva going crazy again tonight over that stoppage, but other than that, our people are pretty capable.
Dana, right here to your left, front row. Just following up on the heavyweight division, looking at the rankings, who's already booked and that sort of thing. Obviously, Cain Velasquez comes up, but just any status update on him?
Last I heard, he would be back around October or November.
Okay. So that would possibly put him in the conversation about the winner of Ngannou, Dos Santos, and that sort of thing.
Definitely.
Okay. Also, just since we have you here, going back to last night, the debut of Justin Gaethje, the fight of the night. Conor McGregor casts a wide shadow over the lightweight division, but with him gone for the summer with boxing, it seems like this is an opportunity for any number of lightweights to really hijack the platform while he's not here, so that when he does come back, they have a chance to be somebody that he's going to have to reckon with. Do you see this as kind of a summer of opportunity for lightweights to emerge, put themselves in that conversation?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that kid breaks into the top 5 with that performance, and you got Khabib and Tony out there too, and yeah, there's a lot of great fights to be made while they're waiting for Conor to come back.
Thanks.
So just to follow up on that, over to your right. Just to follow up on that, he was specifically calling out Tony. The 24 hours has passed. Can we match make that fight? Are you ready to do that?
I actually still want to see Khabib versus Tony.
So that fight's got to happen first. You're still committed.
Doesn't have to happen first, but I kind of like to see it. Anything can happen. Anything is possible, but we'll see how this thing plays out. I know that Khabib is set up to come to Las Vegas and go to the Performance Institute and work with the nutritionist there and some therapists. But if he's not ready to fight, I do Gaethje and Tony.
Yeah, it appears Tony wants it too. So he responded to Gaethje's call out. Basically said he'd do it if it was for an interim title.
Cool.
That's a statement, not a question.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Hey Dana, I just wanted to ask you. A couple people asked me about Amanda and your decision, or not your decision, but since she didn't fight and Dr. Davison cleared her, did you consider stripping her of the title at all? Was that ever a factor?
No, I didn't consider that. We didn't pay her.
Right. And just, how do you deal with those kind of situations when, you've had it before, like when you're going through it? to strip the fighter or not to strip the fighter? Like, what's the thought process? How do you work through that?
When you're going through stripping a fighter?
Yeah, because she, you know, she's cleared to fight, so the doctor's saying she's healthy enough, and then she says, I don't want to fight. Like, so I'm not trying to be harsh because I think I think
hey,
you did the right thing.
That's a great question.
You know.
It's a great question, and you know, we've never seen anything like this from her before. You know, there's no pattern of her refusing to fight somebody, or you know, those are the type of situations. I mean, where, you know, I'll read something where a guy says, "Yeah, I refuse to fight this guy." You know, I'll tell you, it just happened with DJ. We have a fight for this guy. You know, it's for his you know, his chance to break the record. Is a very credible guy that wants to fight him. The guy's cutting weight, getting ready, and all this stuff, and he's absolutely refusing to fight him. So that's when I sit there and start going, well, first of all, you're the pound for pound best fighter in the world, number one. Number two, you know, you're on X amount of defenses, and you're absolutely refusing to fight somebody. When there's a pattern of that, then I start looking at stripping a guy.
Just to ask you one question about Whittaker. I mean, the journey that he was on, you know, here was a guy that lost 2 in a row after he got into the UFC, seemed kind of adrift. Can you kind of comment a little bit about how he was able to turn his game around? And there have been few UFC fighters that have improved as dramatically as he has in a very short period of time.
Yeah, no, Whittaker, I mean, the guy looked absolutely incredible. Like I said, his takedown defense against guys like Jacare and tonight against Romero is unbelievable, especially looking, when you look at, he was really injured in that first round. His leg was completely jacked up, and the performance he had tonight was incredible. He looked unbelievable. At 26, you say, what's this guy going to look like when he's 29? And he's got a really good team around him, too, so very impressive.
Hey, Dana, over here. Shevchenko's team told me that they were offered Edmonton tonight and accepted, and now they're waiting for Amanda. Is that accurate?
Yes, I know that both camps were offered Edmonton. I don't know where we are on it, though. Amanda. I don't know who is accepted or who hasn't, or if the fight is made. I don't know.
What do you make of Travis Brown? 4 in a row now, and doesn't seem like the same kind of fighter.
Yeah, it's crazy. Travis Brown was one of those guys, you know, right before I would say the Bigfoot fight. Even the Bigfoot fight, he, you know, he got injured. He blew his hamstring or something weird happened to him in that fight. Guy looked like he was going to be a world champion. It's just, this is one of those sports, you never know. One minute you're absolutely unbeatable and unstoppable, and the next minute you can't win a fight.
Do you think that he'll stick around?
I think that Travis should retire.
Okay. Have you told him that?
I have not.
Okay. Did you have a chance to talk to Cyborg?
I did not.
Will you unblock her on Instagram? She's bothered by this.
She's bothered by what?
That you blocked her on Instagram. She brought this up today.
What the fuck?
She said that.
Where's my phone? Give me my phone. Why would I block her on Instagram? That's craziness. She's following the wrong Dana White. I'm going to look at this right now.
Okay. Can I ask you a question while you do that?
Yep.
Or do you want to focus on that?
No, I can multitask.
Okay. I thought the UFC 214 promo, the second one that aired, I think right before the main event, was the best and most honest promo in UFC history.
Thank you.
Particularly because of the story of John Jones and not shying away from it. Was that something that you had to sit down and talk, like, how much of this are we going to tell? How much are we going to peel back the curtain here? Because you don't often see that before a fight of this.
No, I think that, listen, if a guy, all right, what is her Instagram? Maybe I can't do this by myself.
Chris Cyborg, just one word, no H in Chris.
Chris Cyborg MMA?
No. But if you blocked her, you may not see her come up.
Why the fuck would I block Chris Cyborg? Listen, we've done some stupid things over the last couple of years with the website and all kinds of other stuff. But why would I go out and block her? Because I don't want her seeing the stuff that I'm posting?
While you're at it, could you unblock me too?
No, I'm blocking you.
All right.
You're staying blocked. But So if I blocked her, it won't pop up?
No.
Yeah, it should still pop up, right? Are our social media people here? Chris Cyborg UFC, Chris Cyborg FC. Help me. Okay. I did not block Chris Cyborg.
Okay.
That's weird. Anyway.
The promo.
So the promo, yeah. So listen, if a guy makes a mistake and has one, I mean, this is years, and this is like John Jones. You know, he's gonna go all the beef between him and Cormier, and when you think about it, this is only the second fight between these two. It's crazy. I think that you can't honestly, you know, talk about this fight without telling the story, and that's the whole story. And at the very end of the promo, you see John is reading something that Cormier had written, and he's like, "I'm a good person, you're a bad person, you're a this and I'm a that," and he goes through this whole thing, and he basically ends it with, "I have to win this fight, I have to get my life back." So John Jones is being about as honest as John Jones can be too. So it just, all of that put together is what makes it one of the greatest promos we've ever done.
And last one for me, the press tour starts next week for Mayweather and McGregor. What is your role?
Starts tomorrow for me.
Well, okay, so what is your role in all of this?
I don't know.
Like, are you going
know,
to be at the press conference?
Yeah, I'll be at all of them. I'm going on the whole tour. You know, the way that this thing's laying out, this is you know, Lene and Mayweather's team are putting this thing together, and I think it's going to be a hybrid of the boxing press conferences and UFC press I don't know. I think it's going to be more like a boxing press conference than it is our press conferences. You know how mine are. No bullshit. We walk in and we sit down and we, what's up? Who has the first question? And we get it rolling. I think there's going to be a lot more bullshit in this one.
But you'll be on the stage, like, as...
What's that? Listen, I'm going to sit there with a mic, and when you ask me a question, I will answer it. I'm not going to get up and give any speeches or do any, you know, anything like that. I think Conor and I will come in. Conor and I will sit down, and we'll answer questions when asked questions. I think that the rest of the people that are going to come in, I think there's going to be a lot of people that come in and talk, and, you know, a lot of speeches. Ellerby asked if he could come to the fight. He wanted to bring his daughter and wanted to come, and I thought that was great. Yeah. No meetings. Everything's done. The business is pretty much handled. You know, there's stuff that pops up left and right. This thing has really been smooth and has gone really well.
Dana over here. You said on the conference call that if y'all didn't have the press conference set up already happened by fight week, that we were going to be in trouble. So are we in trouble?
I'm sorry, what did I say?
That we didn't have the press conference by fight week, we'd be in trouble.
By International Fight Week?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what happened was we started to sit down and look at it. First of all, you got my schedule, you got Conor and Floyd's schedule, and other people that were involved. And it made more sense to do it after International Fight Week. I mean, I wasn't even in town until last Wednesday, and it's the way that it worked out. You know, and we're going on this thing. Staples Center is sold out. By sold out, I mean they did tickets. There's no more seats left. Barclays sold out. We had to get a bigger venue in Toronto, and we're doing Wembley in England. It's going to be crazy.
Are you going to make Conor get there on time? Because, you know, Floyd comes an hour and a half late to press conferences.
It's going to be a fucking shit show. You know that. Absolute shit show. So, I don't know, man. It's going to be crazy.
And switching gears back to MMA, what did Valentina get compensated for today?
What did Valentina get compensated?
Yeah, did she get paid?
I think she got $70,000.
And what do you think about Anthony Pettis?
He looked like Anthony Pettis tonight, man. He looked incredible, especially against such a tough, durable grinder like Jim Miller.
And last but not least, everybody talk about Justin Gaethje. What do you think about Kevin Lee and Gaethje in Detroit?
Yeah, the thing that's great in that division right now is there's a lot of possibilities. There's a lot of possibilities. So, like I said, I personally would like to do Khabib and Tony. See what's going on with Khabib. See when he's going to be ready. And if he's not ready, then we'll move with one of these other fights.
Dana, going back to Nunes, was it a weight cut issue? Do you know?
Was what a weight?
I'm over here. On the
Amanda?
Yeah. Nunes.
No.
Not a weight cut issue.
No. I'm not saying that she might not have been affected by the weight cut, but she was healthy.
It does seem like a lot of weight cutting things have kind of messed up cards for you guys lately.
It's true.
That's something that you guys want to address. Obviously, CSAC is kind of addressing it, but anything that you guys can do?
Well, weight cutting's always been a problem, and it always will be. But the Performance Institute's going to help a lot of that. Really, really is.
And just last thing, Jess Guy was here ready to fight last night. Was there any consideration to have her come in and fight Valentina tonight?
No, when you get somebody who's she's prepared mentally and physically for the fight that night, and the fight doesn't happen, usually puts these fighters in it. Who knows what she did that night, or where she went, or what the deal was. Plus, the reality is that there was, the champ was not hurt. She's not hurt. It's not something that's going to keep her out for months. So you just, like Cerrone and Lawler, you just push it back and try to make the fight another time. It's the thing. It's what makes the most sense. It's like Joanna Jędrzejczyk was like terrorizing me to make this fight for her tonight, but you can't do it. It's too hard to do. You can't make a fight in hours. Plus the medicals that she would have needed to go through, and it's tough to do. You good? Thank you, guys. Have a good night. Oh wait, what happened with my? What happened? Was she blocked? So weird. Listen, we've done, like I said, the website. We put her in the men's 145-pound division, and we've done some stupid shit. That was, but I did not block her. That's crazy. I don't know why she would think I blocked her. All right, thanks. Oh, here, you know what? I got you guys 12,834. The gate was $2.4 million. The fight of the night was Romero and Whittaker. The other two bonuses were Rob Font and Chad Lepre. And that's it. All right? Thank you.
Well, this was a fantastic fight, fantastic main event overall. How did you feel about your performance tonight in the fight?
Esto fue un fantástico main event. ¿Cómo te sientes? ¿Cómo lo hiciste hoy por la noche?
Thank you so much. ¿Sabes? Una derrota siempre duele, ¿no?
Simply lost.
Pero le doy gracias a Dios.
But I thank God.
Salí con algunos cortes, ¿no? Pero está bien de salud.
I came out of here with a couple of cuts, but I'm still full with health.
Y sigo aprendiendo.
And I keep on learning.
Y cada día que pasa, sigo viendo que las posibilidades son reales de ser campeón.
And every day that goes by, I keep seeing that the reality of being a champion is still there. Magnificent evening.
You won the first 2 rounds on all 3 judges' cards, and then Rob came back and won the final 3 rounds. People talk about your cardio a lot. Was this an issue of you getting tired, or was this an issue of Rob making adjustments to come back and change the fight?
Ganaste los primeros 2 rounds y Robert regresó y ganó el tercero, el cuarto y el quinto. La gente dice y habla de tu cardio. ¿Ese fue el asunto o fue que Roberto hizo ciertos ajustes para ganar esos rounds?
Bueno, yo creo que la pelea hasta el último minuto del último round, la pelea estuvo pareja.
I think that up until the last minute of the last round, the fight was even.
En mi humilde opinión, creo que digo, ahora cuando nos sentamos en Miami, que vamos a revisar el video de la pelea, creo que no sé cómo fue que llegué al suelo en el último minuto.
I'm going to review the whole fight as soon as I get back to Miami, and I don't know how I went to the ground in that last minute of the round.
Pero creo que si esto no iba a suceder, el resultado hubiese sido distinto.
But I really believe that if that did not happen, the results would have been different.
And I guess last thing for me, I know how important this night was for you. Where do you go from here? I mean, are you already itching to get back in there and put this behind you? Do you feel like you need some time off to rest? What do you want to do next?
La última pregunta de mí, sabemos que esta noche era bien importante para ti. ¿Qué piensas hacer ahora? ¿Estás buscando la pelea otra vez seguidita o vas a descansar? ¿Qué es lo que piensas?
No, estoy bien, estoy listo. Tengo un golpe en la pierna de la derecha, en la pierna izquierda, en la parte de lo que es la parte de arriba de la pierna. Esperemos que no sea nada grave y ya estamos de nuevo en la batalla.
I'm ready. I do have a pain in my left foot, but we'll hope that it's nothing big deal, and I'll be ready to continue the battle.
El juego no se ha acabado. El juego no se ha acabado.
The game is not finished.
Esto tiene segunda parte.
We got a second part coming.
To be continued.
Well, in the octagon after the fight, you said that you did know that his leg was injured. When did you know? Did you know right when you landed that strike, or did you find out sort of in his face later on?
Después de la pelea en el octavo dijiste que sabías que su pierna estaba lesionada. ¿Cuándo fue que te diste cuenta? ¿Al momento o después?
Después, cada vez que intentaba hacerle la misma sidekick a la pierna, que él la cambiaba.
After when I noticed that every time I would go to do a side kick to the same leg, I would notice that he would, switch it.
You didn't stop attacking the leg, but it never really seemed like you really targeted it either. It never felt like it was something you were really going for. And even he said during after the fight that as you kicked it again, he may not have been able to stand on it. Were you trying to target it, and he just was doing a good job of taking it away, or do you wish you would have targeted it a little bit more?
Se ve que no estabas atacando tanto esa pierna y hasta Robert dijo después de la pelea que si le hubieras metido otra patada de nuevo, él no hubiera podido seguir la pelea. quisieras haberle hecho más daño a la pierna.
Sí, claro, pero él no me daba la posibilidad.
Of course I wanted to, but he wasn't giving me the opportunity.
Cuando intentaba hacerle el mismo sidekick a la rodilla, él cambiaba la pierna.
Every time I tried to do the same side kick to the knee, he would switch his legs.
Y estaba corriendo el riesgo de quedarme dentro de su huella.
And I was running the risk of remaining inside his guard.
Al alcance de su mano.
You know, where his reach would have got me.
What are your thoughts on Robert now facing Michael Bisping? And you said to be continued. Are you anticipating Robert winning that fight and he'll be the champion when you get there again?
¿Cuáles son tus pensamientos en Roberto fajándose con Mr. Bisping? Tú dices que esto va a continuar, que el juego sigue. ¿Tú piensas estar ahí cuando él coja el campeonato?
For sure. Como mismo estoy aquí sentado.
For sure. Just like I'm sitting down here.
Esto no se acaba.
This doesn't finish.
Yo tengo una gran convicción.
I have a great conviction.
Yo me voy a llevar este título.
I'm taking this title.
Last question for me. Do you think you'll ever fight Michael Bisping? When he came into the cage, you two seem to have some kind of altercation there. Do you think you two will ever actually square off in the argument?
Último, ¿tú crees que de verdad vas a tener la oportunidad de fajarte con Mr. Bisping? Cuando él entró en la octava, se vieron en una confrontación un poco rara. ¿Vas a tener la oportunidad de pelear contra él?
Bueno, si él le gana a Robert, yo estoy ahí.
Well, if he beats Robert, I'm there.
Además, los caminos son misteriosos, siempre.
Anyways, all paths are very mysterious always.
Tú no sabes lo que puede pasar el día de mañana.
You never know what could happen the day of tomorrow.
Quien quita que, no sé, pasa algo y déjame me llama y me dice, yo arriba, que te toca de nuevo.
Hey, you never know. The end might call me, something might happen, and he might tell me, Joey, it's time to come get it.
Aquí al frente, hablando después de la pelea, ¿qué pudiste hablar rápidamente con tu equipo? ¿En qué falló el plan de trabajo?
En realidad no hubo ningún error. Creo que son cosas que pasan. Ya te dije, hay que revisar el video, cómo fue que llegué a caer abajo en el último minuto del último round. Si eso no llega a pasar, a lo mejor tenemos el cinturón de ahora aquí.
I need to review the video, and I really need to see how I fell to the mat in that last minute of that last round. If that wouldn't have happened, more than likely I would have the belt sitting right in front of me.
Alguien de tu equipo te mencionó lo que fue gradualmente tu cardio, que a partir del tercer round descendió tanto hasta el último round, perdiste esa velocidad que ibas ganando.
Creo que el juego lo teníamos bastante controlado. Yo no me sentía tan cansado, quizás tengo que revisar, pero yo no me sentía tan cansado. Simplemente quisimos darle, son cosas que a lo mejor le parecen locos, ¿no? Pero quisimos darle cuarto. Y darle cuarto round sin tirar tanto, dejarlo que se moviera, que se desgastara un poquitico más, para entonces nosotros apretar un poquitico más el quinto. Y eso es lo que íbamos a hacer. Pero no sé cómo fue que caí abajo al piso y se fue la pelea.
To tell you the truth, I did not feel very tired. We decided as a team to give him the fourth round, and finish it at the fifth, and that was the game plan. But, I followed the fifth, and that's what made the decision of the fight.
Por último, ¿pensó algo extra el hecho de pasar del co-main event a ser el evento principal de la noche?
No, para nada, todo lo contrario, es una bendición.
All the contrary, not at all. This was a blessing.
Did his takedown defense surprise you?
Su defensa del ataque te sorprendió.
No, para nada, yo sabía que él estaba trabajando la defensa del ataque. Además, Ariel, esto es un deporte de artes marciales, ¿viste?
No, not at all. We knew that he was going to be defending and practicing his defense and the takedown. Anyways, Ariel, we know that this is a mixed martial arts sport.
Inclusive, yo le hice algunas entradas, pero eran fake. Yo sé que cuando tú le haces entrada a las personas que no son luchadores y lo haces tirar el cigopera para hacer y se va desgastando.
Yeah, inclusively, we did a bunch of fake shots at him. We know that anyone that does not know how to defend, takedowns good, they get wasted as you keep faking shots at them.
I couldn't quite tell, but at one point, did you or someone in your corner throw a flag at Michael Bisping? And was that the Cuban flag, and did he rip it?
Alguien aquí de nosotros le tiró una bandera a Mr. Bisping.
Bisping me tiró a mí la bandera.
Bisping.
Mr. Bisping rompió la bandera y me la tiró a mí. A la reja. Come on, man.
Mr. Bisping ripped up the Cuban flag, threw it at Romero at the fence where Romero was at.
How do you feel about that?
¿Cómo te sientes con eso?
¿Tienes bandera?
Do you have a flag?
Yes.
¿Tú la amas?
Do you love it?
Yes.
¿Das la vida por tu bandera?
Would you give your life for your flag?
¿Por tu country?
It's your country.
Es lo mismo.
Same.
So do you feel like you crossed the line?
Siente que cruzó la línea.
Speaking of the belt,
Hablando de Cuba, sabemos que ibas a ver a tu niño con el cinto. ¿Piensas ir a verlo de todas maneras?
Sí, claro.
Yes, of course.
El cinturón no traspasa el amor que yo tengo a mi familia.
That belt does not change the love that I have for my family.
El amor lo puede todo. Si lo que estoy haciendo es por amor a mi familia.
Love encompasses everything that I'm doing is for the love that I have for my family.
Son 11 años sin ver a mi hijo.
It's 11 years also for my son.
Creo que gracias a Dios es una buena oportunidad para ir y regresar con más fuerza.
Thanks be to God, this is a great opportunity to go to Cuba, see my son, and return with a lot more strength.
just one last quick one. You seem to be in incredibly good spirits despite the loss. You said this was a great night. Can you explain? Usually when the person who's the main event comes, they're upset, they're maybe crying. You have a smile on your face and you seem to be taking this very well. Can you explain why that is? How are you doing this?
Parece que estás en muy buen espíritu. Normalmente cuando uno pierde una pelea, un main event, viene llorando, bien triste. Tú también tienes una sonrisa. ¿Cómo estás llevando esto también? ¿Puedes explicarnos eso?
Muy simple.
Very simple.
Todos los que estamos aquí tenemos salud.
Everyone is here.
Tenemos salud.
Everyone here has health.
Tengo salud.
I'm filled with health.
Estoy haciendo lo que me gusta.
I'm doing what I love.
Estoy haciendo lo que ayuda a mi familia.
I'm doing what helps my family.
Estoy aprendiendo.
I'm learning.
A pesar de mis 40 años,
Besides my 40 years of age,
me siento como un pionero en este deporte.
I feel like a pioneer in the sport.
Yo voy a continuar.
I'm continuing.
Earlier you said that you kind of had a strategy as a team to kind of take off the fourth, win it in the fifth. Were you kind of scoring? Were you guys scoring in the corner along with the judges, and you felt that you were up 2-1 after the third round?
Teníamos una estrategia con tu equipo que iban a regalar el cuarto y ganar en el quinto. ¿Estabas pensando igual que tu esquina que había ganado hasta ese punto?
Sí, claro.
Yeah, of course.
And then I guess in the fifth round when you talked when you have to come back and watch the slip, what was the thought process being on your back and knowing that the strategy was to win the fifth round, now you're on your back? What were you thinking kind of being in that position with only like about 2 minutes to go?
Quedando 2 minutos nada más, ¿qué es lo que estaba pasando por tu mente cuando fallaste, te caíste y estabas en tu espalda sabiendo que quedaban menos de 2 minutos para pelea terminar.
Hasta ese momento yo sabía que le iba a presionar.
Up until that moment, I knew I was going to keep putting pressure on him.
Hay muchas personas que cuestionan mi cardio, ¿no?
There's a lot of people that question my cardio.
Y no es que quería probar nada.
It's not that I wanted to prove anything.
Pero sí iba a empujar un poquitico más para que el mundo viera de dónde está el cardio de Joel.
You know, I was going to press a little more so that the whole world could see where my Joel's cardio is.
Pero bueno, son cosas que pasan ahí. Eso es lo que más me preocupa hoy. Lo que más me preocupa hoy no es que perdí la pelea, sino cómo llegar al piso.
All those are things that happen, but the main thing that worries me now is just seeing how I felt. That's the only thing that worries me.
Porque me sentía bien. Si no iba a caer al piso, la pelea el resultado hubiese sido completamente distinto. Yo estaba presionando.
I felt great, you know. If I wouldn't have fallen to the floor, that fight, you know, the results would have been different. I was the one putting pressure on.
Pero bueno, gracias a Dios, pasó lo que pasó y, como decimos nosotros, en la buena y en la mala, gracias a Dios.
You know, thanks be to God, you know, what happened, and like we say, you know, good and bad, thanks be to God.
And lastly, you just went through a long fight, 5 rounds, so there's a lot of punches. Any particular reason you decided to shave? It seems like that would be a painful process.
Acabas de ir por una pelea dura de 5 rounds, mucho piñazo. ¿Cuál es la razón que te decidiste afeitarte? Parece que eso hubiera sido doloroso.
Revisa luego mi pelea después de pelear, qué es lo que hago.
Analyze all my fights. As soon as I'm done, what is it that I do? He shaves.
Igual.
like zooming out, you're like, oh shit.
Rob, congratulations, of course, for an incredible victory by you tonight. You've been working so hard to get to this moment. I imagine you haven't had much time to sit down and reflect yet, but can you just tell us what the emotions are like having finally earned this belt?
It's pretty good to start with. It's an accumulation of a lot of effort from a lot of different parties. You know, I have the best team in the world. I've said that every fight, and I truly mean it. You know, Henry Perez, Alex Prates, and Alex and Fabricio Whittaker. You know, those three guys you see in every fight, and they're always with me. They're very smart. They got me through this fight. You know, this fight was very hard for me, but I have a lot of a team back home that, you know, don't get a lot of credit and don't manage to get over here, with Justin Feshel, Justin Lang, Stu McKinnon. Those boys really look after me, and there's you know, I have the best team in the world. I've said it before.
After the first 2 rounds of the fight, all 3 judges had you down 2 rounds to none. I wonder what you were thinking at that point. I mean, obviously you never go into a fight wanting to lose rounds, but did you realize that might be a possibility against a guy like Yoel, but you could capitalize late on a guy that tends to fade? Or, you know, were you frustrated by what had happened in the first 2 rounds?
In the first round, he kicked me leg pretty hard. You know, he and that kind of put a I don't know what, a blocker in the way of my game plan. And you know, the game plan was always to pepper him, to hurt him, to poke him away, and then in the later rounds start to capitalize on that constant damage. But it put my game plan back a little bit for the first 2 rounds. I had to concede that, and I had to play it a bit safer than usual. But you know, in the end, it came around. Great cornering from my team. They really got me through this one.
We obviously saw you know, the knee being addressed there. Do you know anything about the extent of the damage yet? I mean, certainly you haven't had full testing on it yet, but I mean, do you have an idea what might be wrong and kind of what you're looking at?
In my expertise, it's sore.
Well done. And last question I have for you. I mean, anytime somebody wins a belt, the first thing we ask them is, what's next? What's going to happen? We know what's next for you. It's Michael Bisping. I wonder what you thought. I mean, Michael Bisping is Michael Bisping. He's been that way for a long time. But what did you think about the exchange tonight and kind of the way he addressed you? And what did you think about the whole process?
Michael, you said it best yourself. Michael Bisping is Michael Bisping. I'm the type of fighter that goes into every fight with no ill will towards any of my opponents. I'm an athlete first and foremost, and we love the sport. I actually respect Michael Bisping. I respect him as the champion, even though he's injured and on the bench, and that's why there's an interim champ. I respect him. I really do. I have a lot of respect for him. But you know, we're going to touch gloves now. It's fate. We have to fight now, and when we do, you know, there's going to be no mercy.
Rob, hey, first of all, congratulations. I'm just wondering, just on Michael Bisping, obviously the lead-up between you and Yoel was one of very much a mutual respect between the two of you. That's probably not going to be the case with Michael Bisping. I was just wondering, how will that affect your preparation at all?
I don't know. I haven't got any bad advice from Michael. He hasn't done anything crazy to try and get in my face. I think he respects me as well. You know, he is who he is, and he's going to do what he's going to do. And, you know, I'm just going to be me. I go into the fight with the same amount of respect I have for every athlete. And I'm going to be me in that fight. I'm going to be me on the media, outside the fight. I'm going to be me, and you know, he can work with that.
And Dana said before there's a possibility that fight could take place in Australia. I know you said before that you'll fight anyone, anywhere, but would that make it a little bit extra special if you do get that shot and it is back home?
Oh, of course, mate. Who doesn't like fighting at home? You know what I mean? Having it on your backyard is great. Great for me. It's great for all my support. I'd love to bring the fight back to Australia. You know, they would love it.
And what do you think your win tonight does for the sport back home?
I have a lot of support from the Australian crowd back home. I know this, and I'm blessed to be in this position. Every time I walk out into that octagon, I feel like I'm representing my countries, Australia and New Zealand. Mate, it's the highest honour and highest privilege. I try to conduct myself in a good manner outside the octagon as well as inside the octagon, and try to be, you know, a champion needs to act like a champion. And you know, I can only hope I fill those shoes.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Robert, right over here. Earlier this year, they announced that it was going to be Michael Bisping and George St. Pierre. Now here you are here with the title yourself. Just talk about, you know, at the beginning of the year, what you were feeling when you saw that, you know, the division was getting log jammed, and here you were winning these fights, but it didn't seem like you'd get a title shot.
Yeah, at that point in my career, I think people were still thinking I was a sleeper. Yeah. I think people were definitely underrating me a bit, and that's fine. You know, I can only be me, you know. I fly a little bit under the radar, and that's fine. I let every one of my fights, I let my actions speak louder than my words, and I hope tonight was another demonstration of that. But definitely earlier in the year, there was a log jam in the division. You know, there was nowhere to go. There was no reason to fight. There was no way to work up. You know, everyone has a goal of being the champion or being the best ever, and it's hard to do that when the champ is tied up with another opponent that's not even in the division. So that was hard. That was a hard time. But then with the interim belt and the fight with Yoel Romero, everything starts flowing again. Even the fighters below me get a chance now to fight their way up again. And it's a great time to be a middleweight.
And you were a product of the Ultimate Fighter. You won the Ultimate Fighter. Did you carry that with you tonight? Into this, just for all those guys on that show, and just being someone that was a success from the Ultimate Fighter.
I didn't think about it. That's so long ago. I can barely remember yesterday, to be honest. That was a long time ago. More importantly than anything, every time I step into that octagon, I feel like I'm representing my nations. And, I want to be a good role model to young upcoming athletes. And, I want to be a role model just to men in general.
And that kind of gets to my next question. How much do you think this win is going to impact, more Aussies like yourself, trying to, get into the sport and, sort of motivate them because now they have a role model in you as the champion?
100%. I got here training at home with my teams at home. I do all my training out of Sydney. It's a bit of an urban myth that you need to travel to these major camps to get all their work done. There's a lot of other fighters now doing it and getting the spotlight they deserve. But I do all my training in Sydney, and I have the best team in the world, and I've said that, and now I've proved that. So, for the Australian crowd at home, it can only benefit them. We have the talent, we have the potential at home to do what we need to do. And, I hope this just makes the sport grow.
And last question for you. We know that Bisping is next. Are you still, though, a little bit worried that maybe St. Pierre somehow gets in there and gets that fight with Bisping, or is that completely off your mind at this point?
I didn't even give it a thought, mate. At this point in time, I'm pretty sure me and Bisping are fated to fight. We were supposed to fight another time, and then, it's like snakes and ladders. I had to fight a lot of dudes to get back into that range. But now here I am again, and here we are again. We're going to fight. What Bisping does, who he fights, that's his own business. I'm taking everything one fight at a time. I'm worrying about me. I've got the best team around me, and that's
what happened. He ended up on the win in that last 90 seconds. Or did you even realize it at the time?
Mate, that's Australian. Give up a position, and I can only come out of this stronger. I'm going to go home like nothing's changed. I'm going to get back into the program and just plug away so that the next time you see me step into the octagon, it's a better Robert Whittaker.
Hey, Robert, to your left. A little bit back further. There you go. I may have heard you incorrectly, so please correct me if I'm wrong on this. It was loud in the arena. Did you say that you had suffered the injury in camp and that you thought it was 100%? You said something about it being 100% tonight, but then...
Mate, I'm not too sure. Even if it could have been absolutely perfect, but he stomped it so hard. I could have had the absolute pristine knee, and then he stomped it, and then it wasn't so pristine. So, if it was good, it wasn't after that.
Okay, but you did do something to your left knee during the training camp?
Yeah, every fighter has to train with niggly injuries. I had niggly injuries coming into the fight. I thought they were 100% until Romero stomped on it.
So what does that feel like in the first round of your title fight? You had this injury that you thought was good, and then it wasn't. I mean, was there any sense of panic even initially, at least initially, when that happened?
It's kind of why I give a lot of credit of this fight to my corners and my coaching staff, because it was there. In the first and second rounds, it was there. It was hard to ignore because it was fresh. The injury was fresh, and it hurt. And with the adrenaline running in a fight, for something to hurt, it's injured. So, but my corners, I have, like I said 100 times, I have the best team in the world, and they gave me precise answers. They gave me the cool and calm, collected focus that I needed, and I drew from that to really get over that little hill in this fight.
And I know this is kind of asking you for a detailed answer on something you just don't know about yet, but are you concerned about the knee right now? Do you feel like it could, prevent you from getting back in the gym when you want it to be, or are you pretty certain you're not concerned sitting out there?
Mate, I could lose my leg and one of my coaches would still make me train. Trust me, I'll be training just fine.
Hey, Robert, congratulations. Just had a question about your hand, because you thought that you had injured it after the Jacare fight, and I know this was a big opportunity. How does it feel after the fight tonight?
My hands?
Yeah.
They're a little sore. That's the thing with throwing them at people.
Sure.
But I have a really good rehab system back home. I have a really good coaching staff, and we make sure that we train our our out season, like rehab, as much as the in season.
But you don't think that you re-injured it or broke it or anything like that?
Not my hands at this stage, no.
Okay. And would November seem like too soon for you, considering you fought in April and now in July, and that would be in 4 months? Does that seem like it would be too soon to come back?
You know, I haven't given it much thought, to be honest. Like, this is all real fresh. I said to a lot of interviews before the fight that my calendar year really literally ends before I fight Romero, and the problem with that is that I'm not prepared for any answers afterwards. So looking at things, I have a bunch of little niggly injuries I have to get over, and the 4 month span seems pretty short to get over it, especially with my knee impacting the fight the way it did. You know, so I'm going to have to go home, see the doctors, see what they say, and get a proper medical opinion before I can make any other decisions.
And just one more. Sometimes in the past we've seen people win the interim title and not even want to wear it. They want to wait for the real belt, the official belt, if you will. How do you feel about that belt? We've seen other people, like Conor recently, say, this is the belt, I'm the champion. Where do you fall as far as the interim belt is concerned?
Mate, I had to fight a 5-round war with Yoel Romero. I think if you fight a 5-round war with Yoel Romero, you deserve a medal of your own, because that dude is an absolute, you know, he's one of the most dangerous people on the planet. No one wants to fight him, and for good reason. So I worked hard for that belt, for that bit of shiny metal there. And, you know, that's what that is a symbol of, that I am now the #1 contender while the current champ is on the bench. I'm filling his seat at the moment. You know, I'm taking on the head honchos, I'm taking on those killers, and then I'm taking on the responsibility of being champion.
Thank you. Congrats.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, guys.